Welcome to Talk Back. It is now December 19th, 2025. We've had some momentous days, and I'm always glad to speak about these things with our Lieutenant Governor, Susan Bysiewicz. Good morning, Susan. How are you today?
Good morning. Nice to see
Yes,
you. Happy
it's
holidays.
happy holidays to you. So I need to let people know to introduce you. You've had such an impact on Connecticut life over these past, I don't know, more than 20, 30 years. You were in the legislature. You were Secretary of State for how many terms?
I was Secretary of the State for 3 terms.
3 terms, and you've been lieutenant governor for 2 terms and probably a third term when
Well,
because
but
we're
we're not going to count our chickens
okay.
before they're
Okay, but
done.
we are running again,
Yes.
right? And so I know every time we talk about the 3 or 4 issues that are most on your mind now and that you want to impart to our audience. However, I want to let people know that looking over the breadth of your work as a public servant for Connecticut, you have been supportive mostly women's rights, girls' rights, economic empowerment. You work with veterans, affordable health care, which is a huge issue now, as you know, in our national discussion. Um, Combating the opioid crisis. You even had a project on loneliness, which is a huge thing that I work with the elder community and elder abuse and elder law, and isolation and loneliness is huge. Jobs, infrastructure, financial literacy, environment, so many issues that are important to you and you've had an impact on. So we thank you for all of that. And now let's start today. Before we get to the specific issues that are on your mind for the next few months, let's talk about the feelings we now have and you have about the horrific weekend we had that brought to mind the gun violence issue, the anti-Semitism issue. And of course, I was reminded that this weekend was also the anniversary of Sandy Hook. Is that right?
That's
What
right.
what are your thoughts? What do you say to us?
Look, December 12th is one of those days that always brings up just awful memories of the students and teachers and staff that were killed on that terrible day. Um, and to have another mass shooting, in our neighboring state was just horrifying, and it just underlies the need, it underscores the need to pass stronger gun safety laws in our country. Because no matter how strong our laws are here in Connecticut, we need to do more at the national level. We have an assault weapon ban that has been updated by our administration. There was an assault weapon ban passed in 2013 in the aftermath of Sandy Hook. Several years ago, we passed an updated ban because there had been so many loopholes that had been created over the years by gun dealers and gun manufacturers that it was time to pass a new law. So we've done that. We are a state that has an A rating from the gun safety organizations around the country. But unfortunately, other states have not followed our lead, and therefore, this is a national issue. We need to solve the problem at the federal level. It's a public health crisis. Mass shootings are sadly almost a daily occurrence in America. The one at Brown in our neighboring state of Rhode Island, we heard about because of its proximity to Connecticut, but literally there are shootings every day, mass shootings every day, that we don't even hear about because we become so desensitized to this. And gun violence continues to be a leading cause of death of young people in our
Well,
country.
as you pointed out, we can be in the forefront. We're pioneers on the best gun violence protection legislation. but we live in a 50 state plus 6 territories jurisdiction, and guns come from everywhere. I know, Lieutenant Governor, I spoke back in 2012, 13 with a parent of a Sandy Hook and interviewed him. He was on his way to Washington. You probably recall that. There was a bill pending in the United States Congress on gun safety, and they went there with much hope, desperate hope, and they came back dejected and disappointed. The Congress did nothing. And it's very sad that we have very bad leadership today at the top. Uh, how can we change our culture? It's not just the votes, it's somehow the culture of violence has seeped through into America. We have more guns in this country than people.
It is, it's staggering. We do need to change the culture, and we also need to address mental health issues, because mental health was an issue that was at the root of the Sandy Hook massacre. We don't know a lot of details about what happened at Brown, but it appears that was a mental health challenge. In so many of these cases, mental health is an aspect that we need to consider as well. And here in Connecticut, we have tried to make strides to make sure that children and young people can get the mental health services
Yeah.
that they need, and get them sooner rather than later. And
Yeah.
it's an issue for our adults. And Sheila, one thing that a lot of people may not realize is in Connecticut, we have annually on the order of 1,000 gun violence deaths a year. Think about that, 1,000. And
Most of them from a lot from suicide, right?
right. So this is what I wanted to point out,
Yeah.
because when you say gun violence, a lot of people picture urban violence
Right.
related to crime or drug trafficking. And indeed, there's some of that. But 2/3 of those 1,000 deaths are deaths by suicide, where someone uses a gun, and the lion's share of those are older white men.
Mm.
And a lot of them are veterans. So again, mental health, loneliness, these are underlying issues that we have to address also in order to address gun violence. And of course, reducing access to guns helps.
Right. Well, I noticed, I think I just read that Australia is starting another buyback program. Did you see that? Which they did some years ago when they had a mass shooting, and although what happened last weekend was horrific, it has not been a regular periodic occurrence like it is in this country. But we have the strength, the power, the impulse to do a buyback program? Could
Oh,
that be done
yes.
in
Oh, yes. We
we
do
do?
them regularly in
Yeah, in
Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah.
And a matter of fact, I believe um, earlier in the fall, I worked with the Newtown Action Alliance and groups and Newtown young people to highlight gun buybacks. Police departments around the state routinely do them. Hartford, for example, does them every year.
Yeah.
And so we regularly try to get that message out there because people can also, when they go to these gun buyback programs, they can also get access to safes where they can secure guns they may have locked away so that anyone else that happens to be in the home cannot have access to that
Yeah,
comes.
well, I was really I was referring to on the national level, do we have the impulse to do that? And right now, you'd have to say no.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought you were
Yeah.
asking about Connecticut. Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, I know we have it. Yes, I was talking about in Australia, they're doing it on a national basis, but in America, sadly, we don't have that stuff perspective. We
You know
don't.
what? We should be doing a regional effort because I
Mm,
know that our regional uh, states like New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Jersey have strong laws like we do. So we could have a regional gun buyback program.
hopefully, yeah. And let's just touch on the other issue that was brought up by the Australia shooting. Um, I am active in the Jewish community in Eastern Connecticut and Connecticut. And I have to say that over the past few years, and certainly since the events in Gaza and Israel, uh, American Jews have a much more uneasy feeling and don't feel as safe as we used to. I mean, we always thought that America was our safe haven. And for the first time in our lives, we're saying that may not be true. So many things have happened to change our perspective on that. So, as a governor, as a leader in our state, what can you tell us about how we can be protected? I know in Australia, members of the Jewish community were angry that over the years, the government in Australia had not done enough to protect the Jewish community.
Hmm. Well, sadly, we are seeing uh, instances of hate in our state, and it's anti Semitic hate, it's homophobic hate, sexist hate. There was just a homophobic incident, a former legislator calling another person um, a despicable name. And we see this. The ADL has kept track of the number of incidents, and sadly, they're on the rise because of our federal leadership. There's almost an empowerment that people feel free to use um, anti-Semitic slurs or homophobic slurs and the like. And the governor and I have done a couple of things to protect the Jewish community, but also to protect against hate in any form. And first, the governor put together a hate crimes commission, and people from the Jewish community, the women's community, the LGBTQ plus community, the NAACP, all work together to look at our hate crimes laws and make them stronger, but also to put them all in one place. Because Connecticut did have laws to protect against discrimination in many different areas. And when the commission looked at this, they said, we need to put all of these laws in one place and make them stronger. So that has been done. And then in the aftermath of these terrible shootings in places of worship, and we've seen this in our country, we've seen this in Australia, and we've seen, fortunately, not shootings, but uh, swastikas or slurs painted on houses of worship. So the governor made bonding funding available to churches and synagogues and mosques to help them with security infrastructure to protect their places of worship. So I think we are leading the country in terms of um, what we're doing proactively to help protect against that kind of hate.
again, we're only one state, and we're surrounded by some states that are not doing what we're doing in Connecticut, so we can only do so much as Americans. So, but thank you for that response. Let's turn to some of the hot issues that you really want to talk about today, and one of them is the housing issue and the new law that was passed. So, before you tell us about the law, I know doing surveys with the elder community through the aging agencies and even through Safe Futures, housing comes up as one of the major issues of elderly people, and I guess almost all ages. What is the housing problem? Why is it such a fierce issue and problem in Connecticut?
It's an issue for everybody, for
Right.
older people who may want to move out of their larger home that they raised their kids in, but they still want to be in their home community where they've been for years, to be near their kids and their friends and their community. It's an issue for young people who are finishing their education and want to come back. It's an issue for employers. Like EB is going great guns, but in order to bring new people to our state, we need to have more housing that people can afford. So we need a mix of affordable housing, housing for seniors, workforce housing, a mix of housing for everyone in different parts of the state. And because of the pandemic, we had two things happen. One, people realized what a beautiful state we were, and 50,000 new people moved to our state from other places and bought a lot of the housing that was on the market. And a lot of construction didn't happen during the pandemic. And because of tariffs, construction has become very, very expensive. So there's not a huge number of units being built. So this has been an issue for the governor and I, literally going back to 2019, because the pandemic exacerbated the problem, but it's still a huge issue. So between 2019 and now, we have funded 21,000 units of affordable housing. 14,000 of them have been completed, 7,000 are under construction. We started a time to own program that has allowed more than 6,000 new families who never owned a home to buy their first home. So we've made a big commitment, but we need to do more to encourage towns and housing developers to build more housing. And that's what the bill that the governor just signed into law does. And it doesn't mandate anything. It just says towns and cities across Connecticut come up with a plan to build more housing in your town, work with the Council of Governments. The Council of Governments is groups of towns in particular areas, and come up with a plan for your area and your town or city that makes sense. And we funded the councils of governments to help the towns in the planning process and to incentivize both housing developers and towns. We've said, we will give you brownfield remediation money to clean up properties like old factories or vacant lots that are sitting, not being used. And we'll clean those up so that you can build beautiful, affordable housing that will give towns and cities money for their property tax rolls and beautiful places for people to live. That's the essence of the bill. And the governor vetoed the first housing bill because there were a lot of towns and cities that did not support it. So the governor put the towns and the cities together, the Council of Small Towns, the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, and spent 6 months listening and saying, how can we really make this happen in a way that works for municipalities, that doesn't take away their right to make decisions about their town and community? And that is the bill that we have now, that incentivizes developers and towns to build more housing.
So I know one of the issues was that some of the towns didn't want the mandates, but does at least this law mandate a town to make a plan, even though the plan doesn't have to meet exact characteristics? Is it still required that the town at least develop a plan?
Yes, it is
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no state level mandates, but towns do have to come up with a plan.
Right.
And, our Office of Policy Management will review it and work with them and the Council of Governments to develop something that makes sense for the plan. Also, it will provide resources in this way, because there are a lot of towns, little towns, that will say, one of the barriers for us to build housing is we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have sewer lines. So if that's an issue, that is where the state government can help with support for infrastructure. If a town presents a plan and says, hey, we think we can build housing here, but to do it, we need sewer building assistance, that's where the state will come in and help.
Okay, great. So do you have some projections or predictions about how you think this will work going into the next 3-4 years?
I predict that towns are going to want to take advantage of the state resources that will come with building more housing. Because I think town leaders are just like the two of us. They hear every day how people are looking for housing in their town, particularly for our older residents, right? I mean, a day doesn't go by when I don't talk to a mayor or first selectman about what they need to build more senior housing or affordable housing in their town. And I will say this, yesterday, the governor and I visited West Hartford to announce a $6 million brownfield remediation grant to take down the old UConn Law School of Social Work campus buildings that are contaminated with PCBs now. And that site has been sitting there, I think, since 2017, not used. And finally, those buildings will be taken down. There's a plan to build 845 new housing units. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 of them will be affordable. There's going to be walking trails in the town. And West Hartford is truly leading the way in showing towns and other towns and cities that if you build affordable housing, people want to come to live in your town. West Hartford has a whole mix of affordable housing, middle-class housing, high-end housing. Everyone wants to live there. It's an in-demand place. And so it should be a message, or West Hartford should be a role model, that if you have a mix of housing, people want to live in your town.
Okay. So some along that topic somewhat, on the elderly, it wasn't on my radar to talk about it, but it brings to mind the loneliness. You had an isolation loneliness initiative. Just talk about that for a minute, because that is a very crucial issue as the aging population gets bigger and need more services. And so many of them are in the shadows and not seen or heard.
That's right. So Sheila, last year the governor and I announced a campaign to fight loneliness and social isolation. Um, and all of us should care about it because every age group is lonely. And the two loneliest groups, interestingly, are seniors, not a surprise, but also young people. So teenagers through early 20s folks report being extremely lonely, which is kind of counterintuitive because you think about teenagers or young adults in high school, in college, all around their friends. Why would they be lonely? Well,
They're living on their phones, some of them,
screen
you
time.
know,
We're doing what we're doing right now,
yeah.
right? And or they may not be actually interacting like we
It's
are with a live human being. And all of us should care about it because there are mental health issues like the suicide rate for veterans, those hundreds of people who commit suicide every year. The public health consequences are strong. Being lonely is the equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. So people's health declines, rates of dementia, rates of heart disease, diabetes, and other chronic diseases goes up and gets worse if you're lonely.
right.
So that's why all of us should care about it. And it's something that is also connected to the gun violence issue.
It's true. Yeah, very important. Let's turn to what Connecticut is doing to try to fix the awful things that are happening in Washington. First with Musk coming along and trying to destroy the administrative state. We don't know what's happening. People losing their jobs, agencies being defunded without proper congressional authorization. I mean, have you ever seen such a patchwork of rule of law mistakes and errors and purposeful destruction of agencies? It hurts people, it hurts our system. And where's the Congress? So you have Connecticut is stepping in to help a little bit. What are we doing along those lines?
So the governor and the legislature, in a special session that we had recently, uh, on a bipartisan basis, voted to set aside $500 million to address the impacts of any federal funding cuts to Connecticut people. And the governor has thus far put forward a plan to the legislature where he and the 6 legislative leaders will get together, and as long as 4 of the 6 agree, they can spend this $500 million to address any issues that should come up that impact our families prior to the legislature beginning its regular session in February. So the governor has put forward a plan that totals $167 million to first reduce the cost of health care for 150,000 residents of Connecticut, and to provide food for more than 35,000 people, and to keep 3,500 people in their homes. So funding is going to address cuts to the SNAP program, which people in Connecticut should know that we have a total of 430,000 people in our state of 3.6 million people on SNAP. So this is a program that affects more than 1 in 10 people. And there were cuts coming under the big, beautiful budget bill. And so our plan addresses some of the cutbacks to the SNAP program, which would hurt seniors and veterans and kids.
How significant were these cuts? About what percentages? I know the cuts during the shutdown was another issue, but that was resolved. But how
Correct.
significant are the cuts in
So,
the new bill?
so going forward, it will cost us $24.5 million through June 30th, 2027 to put back funding,
Same.
right, which the big beautiful bill cut. So so that is one part. So we have another approximately 65 to 70 million dollars that is going to help with covered CT. That's our Affordable Care Act here in Connecticut to help the most vulnerable families so that they can still afford health care. And we also are going to make supplemental payments to our federally qualified health centers because they promote and ensure that people have access to primary care or preventive care. So the federally qualified health centers had cuts as well. So there's going to be $5 million that will be used for that. And there is some homeless housing support that has been cut, and we are putting back almost $7 million so that there's homeless support because unfortunately, because of housing costs, we are seeing a rise in homelessness, and we can't have that, especially during cold winter months. And we are going to provide coverage for loss of funding to our Planned Parenthood of Southern New England. So we are going to provide approximately $10 million to Planned Parenthood of Southern New England so that they can continue to provide family planning, preventative, and primary health care. This is not abortion. This is not $10 million for abortion. This is cancer screenings, treatment or testing for sexually transmitted diseases. This is just basic health care. But Planned Parenthood was targeted in the big beautiful bill, and we are not going to allow federal cuts to shut down Planned Parenthood of Southern New England, which provides health care for more than 40,000 people.
Right. I think so many people are unaware that Planned Parenthood is in many ways the primary health resource for many people. It's not an abortion, just an abortion provider. So I want to go more specific about the Affordable Care Act. Did you say that we have 150,000 Connecticut residents who take advantage of Obamacare, or it has a different name in Connecticut, right? When people get the health care through that,
Yes,
the
it's
Obamacare?
called, yes, it is. It's called covered CT. And so what we're doing is we are focusing on the most vulnerable people, and we are going to replace the subsidies for individuals between 100% of the federal poverty level and 200% of the federal poverty level who are not on covered CT, and 50% of the lost subsidies for people between 400% of the federal poverty level and 500% of the federal
Okay,
poverty.
so what concerns me is that the Congress is arguing now over whether to put the continuing those subsidies into legislation, and now it's not going to happen until January. What concerns me is people need to apply for their health coverage for 2026 now, not in January, and there's going to be a gap. So when will Connecticut know that the Congress has failed to continue the subsidies, and we need to step in? In the meantime, there are going to be months when people are not, perhaps not applying because they can't afford to. So this is
And
a
this,
terrible situation. Yeah,
I can't begin to predict when Congress is
I
going to get
know, I know.
back together and do their job. However, I can say that Connecticut has extended the deadline for which to apply, because we know this is causing chaos. I'm going to give you an example of someone from Eastern Connecticut who had a long-term significant other, wasn't married, but they decided to get married, she and her husband, because of the ACA subsidies going away. He had health insurance. She was buying her
Okay.
insurance on covered CT. And she said, okay, I can't have the stress of not knowing that you were
Yeah.
just alluding to. We're just going to get married. And so this is, and I have talked to business owners who are going through this. I also talked to someone who has he had his own business and was purchasing healthcare from from our ACA, and he got a job offer for less money than what he makes through his business, but he
They had help.
decided to take the job
Right.
because he couldn't wrap his head around or understand how much it was going to cost him, and he wanted to have the health care for his family, so he decided to take the job
Right.
that was lower paying than his business,
Yeah.
which not great for our economy, because the small businesses are the ones that are creating the jobs.
So this just, brings us to the ultimate question: when are we going to have national health care in America, or Medicare for all? Obamacare is a stopgap measure. It's not perfect. Thank God enough millions of people are on it and getting preventive health care, but I don't know. What do you think? Will America ever do the right thing and have national health care for everyone?
Well, here's what I think is going to happen in the next federal election. I think we are going to see a significant change
I
in
hope.
our United States Congress. And, the current cuts to the ACA are designed by Donald Trump and the federal Republican leadership to try to gut the Affordable Care Act. And so I think the American people, when they vote next year, are going to make a very strong statement that they want to still have the Affordable Care Act. So, I wish that we could get that out of the way first, because I support any steps that we can take to have universal single payer
Yeah.
healthcare. Other countries do it, they do it well. Canada, the UK, France, but we just have to keep fighting for the Affordable Health Care Act that we have. And I don't think the congressional Republicans or Donald Trump truly appreciates how much people want that to continue.
Yeah, well, they've been trying to gut that for what, 15 years now, since it was
Since its inception,
started.
right?
since its inception, and they have never once put forth an alternative plan. It really is quite unbelievable.
Right. It's just
And
no.
yeah, well, I hope you're right about the next Congress in 2026. Let's hope that that happens and we have a change in leadership in the Congress.
Mhm.
Let's go on to another important initiative. That's doing something to highlight our education for our girls, and certainly in the sciences, which is important because realistically, and we lag behind many other countries in our achievements in education, especially in the science field. So, what is this computing challenge that is going on today?
Well, ever since I took office, um, we've had the Lieutenant Governor's Computing Challenge. And it's a STEM initiative because we want to make sure that all of our young people, girls and boys, have the computing skills that they need to compete in our economy because 99% of the jobs that are open involve computing. And we want to make sure that our young people have those skills. So we have a challenge that's open for third to 12th graders. And each year we've had more than 1,000 students participate. And this is an initiative of our Governor's Council on Women and Girls. And what we do is we ask young people come up with an app or a program to compute for good. Give us, and we've had some great things. We've had fitness apps to keep kids healthy. We've had apps to reduce food waste, to encourage people to be kind to animals, to help the environment. The kids come up with to reduce domestic and family violence. We've had really great ideas from young people about how they believe that their app can make the world a better place. And so it's been really cool to see what our young people come up with. And we want to encourage young people to participate. And the deadline to submit an idea is by March 31st of 2026. We just announced the challenge in Groton at a middle school. And we will in June announce and introduce those that have been selected as leaders in the challenge. And we've had young people who have won some wonderful prizes, whether it's an iPad, a drone, gift cards, cash scholarships. So Infosys has been one of our sponsors, and it's been really, really great to see what our young people come up with. So want to encourage everybody to participate.
Do you divide the prizes by age groups, by different grades?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are groups by age.
Excellent, great. So let's end by talking about shopping for the holidays. I know what is the Gown Made
Oh no,
program?
Connecticut grown, Connecticut grown,
Connecticut Grown, I'm sorry,
Connecticut
Connecticut
grown.
Grown program.
But
And tell us what it's all about and why it's important.
so we always want to encourage people to purchase food and fresh products from our farms across Connecticut. We have more than 5,000 farms that employ over 20,000 people in our state, and they're a $4 billion part of our economy, and a lot of them are depending on holiday revenue to be successful. So if you haven't bought your Christmas tree or a wreath for your door, or you want to purchase delicious eggnog, milk, eggs from farmers, please think about your holiday table. Think about purchasing from your local farmers. And also, I know I've not even started my Christmas shopping, and here we are on December 19th, so we've got a lot of work to do. But this is an opportunity to support your beautiful businesses on your Main Street. I live in Middletown, so Main Street Market is a beautiful collection of small businesses where you can find unique gifts that you wouldn't find anywhere else. I was just in Mystic at Old Mystic Village.
Sure.
With the Small Business Administration and Joe Courtney, and we were celebrating Shop Small Saturday, and we wanted to encourage people to purchase from these local retailers who usually will tell you that 60% of their sales will be in the holiday season, and know also that for every dollar you spend at a local business, 66 cents stays right in your own
Stays
community.
in Connecticut, yes, your community. Yeah. Well, I always read that most businesses, especially retail places, are in the red until December. And it's in December when they go into the black, they start actually making a profit. So where is this being highlighted? Is it on a website we can turn to locate the stores in our area or the different farms or fairs where
Yep,
these
absolutely
things?
right. Absolutely. So, our Connecticut Department of Agriculture website has all kinds of information about farmers markets when they're in season, and local farm stores all over the state. We have farm wineries and craft breweries. So we have a Connecticut wine trail. And there's so many craft breweries that are also fun and need support. And also, of course, the Small Business Administration website as well.
I think that's great because we're all so, I have to say, all of us, too much addicted to the big time stores, the chains that,
We're
you
taking
travel America today and you go down a thoroughfare and you don't know where you are. You could be on Main Street in almost any community in America because you see the same stuff. So it's great to have local home inspired and home created things. And so is Connecticut a good state for doing that? Are we
Oh
good
my
at that?
goodness, absolutely. And I just want to highlight another place that I just visited to sort of showcase this shopping Connecticut made and supporting our local businesses. So there's a place called the Bristol Bazaar, and it is an old factory building that has been converted into a vendor space for small businesses. So when you go in, it's beautifully decorated. There's a cafe in case you need either a coffee or a cocktail after you do some serious shopping. But you can buy from woodworkers, candle makers, ceramic artists, jewelry makers, delicious bakers and candy makers, literally everything you need for gifts for friends and family is right there in one place, and you're getting something unique that you can't find in a Walmart or on Amazon. It'll be unique, it'll be handmade, and it'll be a delight. And it's also supporting our
Right.
local businesses and
And
artisans.
is it in Bristol, Connecticut?
It's in Bristol,
Well,
Connecticut.
that's perfect because it's like almost the center of the state, really. Bristol
Absolutely,
is like, has a
absolutely.
central location. Yeah.
Miss Village is another beautiful place to visit. The Congressman Courtney and I and the head of the Small Business Administration in our area toured some beautiful shops that have unique Christmas decorations, food items, crafts, so much fun. That's also a great place to go, and some wonderful restaurants there too.
Okay, great. So as we end this discussion, uh, I know there's so many problems we talked about that you and your administration are trying to help and fix. But give us some final thoughts of what we want to be hopeful. We want to have happy holidays. We want to have a happy new year. We want our friends and family to be healthy. We want everybody to have health insurance. What are some of your thoughts as we end this and move into the holidays and the new year?
I just want to say to the people of Connecticut that it's been a great privilege for the governor and I to represent people in Connecticut, to represent our families. And we want everyone in Connecticut to know that we're going to do everything we can to continue to make Connecticut a place that is welcoming for people who come here, that we treat people with dignity and respect, and that we want to continue to expand opportunities for people to live and thrive in our state, and that we will protect their rights, and we will do everything that we need to do to ensure that our families have the food that they need, that they are housed, and that they will continue to do well. And thank you so much for having me, Sheila, and happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays and thank you for all of your service. And we'll stay in touch and see what we need to fix next time. Next time on Talk Back. Bye. Take care.